In the first hoop video, I shared my first impression about the brewer. In the second video, I want to dive deeper into it. One of my first curiosity was about the brewing temperature and its stability. And after dozens of brews, checking with a thermometer, I can say that when we pour the water in the outer bowl, there is a drop of temperature of at least 10 degrees. This means that even if we use boiling water to brew our coffee, when the water enters in contact with the coffee, it will have a lower temperature, because we don't pour the water directly on the coffee, but we pour it in the outer bowl. And even if the brewer is made of plastic, there is still some heat absorption. And also there is heat dispersion because of the wide surface. The positive thing of this heat dispersion is that towards the end of brewing, we will have a lower brewing temperature. That will reduce the power of extraction of the water, avoiding over extraction. So I always suggest using boiling water. But what if we are brewing a coffee that needs more power of extraction of the water? And that was my second curiosity, if I could increase extraction without changing grind size and brewing ratio. What happens if I apply the blooming technique like any other pour-over methods? Do I get higher extraction because of the initial saturation? My first approach was to try the pre-wetting technique like any other pour-over methods. In theory, this should increase extraction because of the initial saturation. So I started to brew the coffee. I was brewing with a standard hoop brewing method with an initial 50 grams of water poured straight in the middle, and then pour the remaining water in the outer bowl. What I found out is that the drainage is inconsistent and long. Yes, you can achieve higher extraction, but with a 7 minutes brewing time. Some brews reached the 9 minutes or even more, and the taste of the coffee wasn't good at all. Also, with a long brewing time, the temperature of the beverage will be low, even lower than 60 degrees Celsius, and some people don't like that. I tried to see if I could speed up the drainage by stirring and moving around the slurry, but I actually made it worse. So I don't suggest pouring initially over the coffee and or stirring too much the coffee slurry. After this test, I thought maybe I could increase the extraction if I split the pour. So I decided to split the total brewing water in 2 pours, pouring 125 grams, wait for the outer bowl to be empty, and then pour the remaining 125 grams. The idea behind this is to have a brewing temperature boost with the second pour. The result is that yes, we have a higher temperature in the coffee slurry, but the drainage is slower. So we will have a higher brewing temperature and also a longer brewing time, and that lead to over extraction. Even in this case, coffee didn't taste good. So I came to the conclusion that with hoop, water needs to be poured only once at the beginning in the outer bowl, like hoop suggested. Probably they did the same test as well, and they saw the better outcomes. I think this is because when we pour the whole amount of water in the outer bowl, the level of the water in the coffee slurry is higher. So higher level of water, higher pressure, resulting in a faster and more stable flow, especially at the beginning. So if we pour less water in the outer bowl, automatically we will have a lower level of water in the coffee slurry, meaning less pressure. Conclusion, slower and unstable flow. Another thing that I found while I was brewing different coffees with hoop is that this brewer doesn't work well with high density coffee, like wash processed or some African coffees. I was brewing with a natural processed coffee from Nicaragua, and after I found the perfect grind size, I started to brew different coffees using the same grind size to see the impact of the coffee variable. And I have to say that is massive. With natural and a bit fermented coffee, the flow was consistent and regular. With washed and high density coffee, it struggled a lot, even grinding coarser. Just for reference, I was grinding the coffee with a Breville Sage Smart Grinder at the coarser grind size, 60. And the faster drainage I got was at 5 minutes and 45 seconds. And the result was very unsatisfying. Not a good cup of coffee. So I think that hoop has a limit in terms of the kind of coffee you are brewing. In conclusion, I have to say that in terms of temperature, I suggest using boiling water to get the best result in extraction. Pour the water only in the outer bowl and the whole amount at once. With my test, I found the blooming technique and splitting the water unsuccessful. Finally, hoop struggles brewing high density coffee. I found it very inconsistent and without achieving a good result in the cup. So if you want to brew with hoop, I suggest natural, low-density coffee. In the end, I still with the idea that hoop is a good brewer if you want to start brewing filter coffee at home. It's super easy to use and it's straightforward, but it has its limit when you want to start to experiment with it. So I'd really suggest hoop if you are already into pour-overs. Maybe you will find this a bit boring and not exciting. I hope this video answered some of your questions and curiosity about this brewer. And as always, you can drop more questions in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in my next videos, and in the meantime, I wish you a wonderful day and delicious coffee. Ciao! One last thing, I suggest you to stay tuned because in the next episode we will brew with a metal filter.